A discussion with my friend Mark Brown about Steven Spielberg's The Adventures of Tintin on this episode of the Movies Past and Present podcast. Hello and welcome to the Movies Past and Present podcast. It's October 17th, 2025, and this is episode 137. I'm your host, Stanford Clark, and I'm podcasting from the crossroads of the West in beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah. Just like my website, moviespastandpresent.com, I'll be providing recommendations, commentary, and reviews about current and classic cinema. Thanks for tuning in, and let's do this thing. I'm joined by my good friend and animation aficionado, Mark Brown. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Stanford. Thanks for having me on the show again. I'm always happy to discuss films and animation-related stuff with you.
Well, thanks for being on the show. In fact, this was another one of your great ideas, Mark. Mark pitched the idea of talking about the 2011 film, The Adventures of Tintin, which is a motion capture animated film directed by Steven Spielberg. And I saw this for the first time in 2011 in the theater, and I haven't seen it until again this week. I watched it on TV. But
14 years.
Yeah, it's been a while, and so it was so fun to rewatch it again. And I'm really happy to talk with you about this film. So thanks again for the idea. Thanks for joining me. What's your history with this film? How did you first come about watching it, or what's your experience?
Well, thanks for having me. And this is the film that I say was made for me. This was the film that I was looking forward to my entire life, because growing up I was a big Tintin fan. I read all the Tintin books. I own most of them, and I always wanted like a good, legit film adaptation. There were a couple like live action films back in the day, but like they didn't really stick to the story or the overall vibe, so they're not considered like particularly good. But I want like a good, legit adaptation. So when this was announced, I was super excited, and Steven Spielberg directing it, so I mean it's got to be good. And not only that, it was motion capture, which I think was the best medium they could do for this to actually like capture the essence of the books. And so I saw this film when it came out. I didn't see it in theaters, but I saw it later on, like on DVD, and I was automatically and instantly blown away. Like, this was one of my favorite films of all time, and if we're considering motion capture animation, this is my favorite animated film that's not Disney or Pixar ever.
Oh, cool. Okay. So Mark, tell me about the books, because I am I'm familiar with the design of the characters, right? They've got that very distinctive style, and are they more like would you consider them like a graphic novel? Are they comic book in nature? I don't think I've ever like held one or like looked through one. I know I've seen like maybe covers or just his style, particularly over in Europe. It seems just like I saw it in Europe and it was very recognizable. Like, oh, that's Tintin.
Yeah, he's incredibly popular in Europe. And
iconic, really. I mean, just the the look and the way his hair is, yeah. What are the books like? Oh.
So they're a group of, you can call them graphic novels. I think that would be a better term than comic book. But I mean, I find the terms interchangeable. I guess graphic novel is probably a good way. But they're a series of graphic novels written by a cartoonist named Hergé.
Yes.
Spelled Herge. And these are super popular around the world, especially in Europe. It's really only America that he hasn't really made an impact. But if you go anywhere in Europe or pretty much anywhere where England has had
I remember like Italy and France is where I remember seeing stuff.
Everyone knows them. So it's originally a Belgian comic, and then it got translated into multiple languages. So the versions I've read are like the original English translations of them, which I think were done in the UK. So those are the versions that's probably the most famous of the English version. And
okay.
I can't say for certain, but I feel that the English version is probably the most popular version there is. So yeah, it's a series of, I don't know, like 20 to 25-ish maybe books. And basically it's about a reporter named Tintin, and reporter is very loose because like in the it's really just an excuse to give him some sort of a job. It's really
Right.
just the adventures that he has.
He's yeah,
He's not
exactly.
really
He's
reporting.
a reporter and an adventurer is what I read. You know,
Exactly, yeah.
I love that. It's
I,
kind of loosely a reporter. He has a typewriter,
yeah,
right?
actually, throughout the entire books, I think there's only one book, if I'm mistaken, not mistaken, where he's actually like you see him like writing a story,
He's like,
like you don't actually see him
yeah,
writing.
it's
So
not like he's got a publisher who's hounding him, right, or his boss, right, hounding him for
exactly,
his
exactly.
stories or
So
whatever.
so yeah, they kind of play it up more in the movie, but like yeah, so but he's a reporter just because he's a reporter, but and it's just the adventures he gets into with his friends and the other characters, who we'll talk about later as we get through them. The movie, but Captain Haddock is one of his
Is
best
one of his
friends,
best friends and kind of a sidekick, right?
pretty much,
Um,
yeah.
and Snowy the dog.
Snowy's the dog, and they have French names in the actual Belgian one. I think Snowy's called Milieu,
You're
and I forget
right.
his name. But then there's the Thompson twins, who are Thompson and Thompson. Are they twins? Are they not twins? There's no one
Right.
knows. But the two guys, two
The two guys
detectives who
who are
bumbling look like.
identical with the exception of the shape of their mustache, right?
Yes, and one
Yeah.
is spelled with a P and one without a P.
Uh, what about
And
and then
and
there's like
there's
the opera singer, right? The Bianca.
Bianca Castafiore. She
Yeah.
appears in a few of them. And then there's another character who's not in this movie, but he's popular also. But his name is Professor
There's a
Calculus. So
calculus, yeah, who I read about, but he's not in the film, right? He didn't
he's not
get
in
put
the
in the
film,
film
no,
adaptation. Okay.
because this film is based on. It takes inspiration from three books, and well, two in particular. One is called the main one is called The Secret of the Unicorn, and there's also From the Crab with the Golden Claws. So it kind of takes those two books and kind of mixes them together. But the book The Secret of the Unicorn has a sequel called Red Rackham's Treasure. We're going to get to it, but jump at the gun. At the end of the movie, they decide to go find Red Rackham's treasure in the ocean. So in the sequel book, that's where Professor Calculus makes his debut. So that's why he's not in this movie, because he's not part of the story yet. But for like the latter half of the book series, he's a very uh, interesting and uh, funny character.
Yeah, I just love the look of him. I've seen how RJ, is that how you pronounce the artist name
AJ, yeah.
or the
Mhm.
creator's name? Um, the
He has a very distinct like drawing. Like I love how his characters are.
this the art is cool, isn't it? Yeah, I agree. In fact, you've inspired me. I really need to hunt down a book. I'll be hitting you up for you know title
Oh, definitely.
recommendations. What about the you mentioned that so the Steven Spielberg and their team decided to bring this film with motion capture, and I agree with you. I think that was a good decision, in that this movie is such a big adventure film.
It
Um,
is.
and
That's with the spirit of Tintin.
yeah, okay. And so I was going to say is, did you feel like the film, just I guess overall thematically, did it capture the spirit of the stories for you?
100%, especially
Okay.
with these two in particular. There are scenes that are like, oh, this is this scene from the book played out. Oh, this is from this scene from the book played out. Like, I was happy pointing out these scenes. Like, oh, I'm glad to see this. Like what they did with this scene.
So we mentioned that film was made using motion capture, which, is you all know, is actors are filmed, and the stuff that I've seen that I don't know necessarily know. I haven't seen any behind the scenes for this film. Have you seen any behind the scenes stuff for
I
this,
don't
Mark?
think
I mean,
I have, but I assume it's the same
the
process
the
as they
actors,
were at least back
these
then. Yeah.
actors, not only are they sharing their voice, with these animated characters, but dots or something get put on their faces, and that's why they call it motion capture, because a computer then captures their acting, not only their voice but what they're doing with their face,
Exactly.
and that
And their
gets
body.
incorporated into the animation. And then for me, what was kind of particularly exciting, and I remember this the first time I saw it too, is that here we are in this computer created film that's got a real human element to it because of the motion capture, right? It's not just
Yes.
completely, animation, even though it's all 3D animation. But it's God, it's like Steven Spielberg's quote unquote camera. The way that these shots are con-
Cinematography,
constructed
yeah.
is, yeah, it's just like you feel you're watching a Steven Spielberg film that's almost again like on steroids because there are no limitations. The camera
Yes.
the camera just moves everywhere, and it's for me it was thrilling. That's the way I remember feeling, in 2011, and feeling again this week rewatching. What's your take on just kind of the Steven Spielberg ness of this film?
Well, I think Steven Spielberg is also a fan of the book, so I think that helps a lot because being a fan, he knows the material and he's able to bring that to the screen, using in the way he does. So he's gonna make sure his cinematography and direction is gonna match the vibes of the film and whatever. And I would say this is probably the best motion capture film ever made. Like
Yeah, I
I would
would
say it's
agree
probably the
because
best motion capture. I would say.
I have not been a big fan of a lot of motion capture films, and again, not to be all whiny. I don't. I promise you, Mark, I won't be whiny. Like I can, I can be, but uh, the first one that comes to mind, and I think probably the first one that I remember seeing was the Polar Express.
Yeah, I
And
think a lot of people when they hear sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think a lot of
no,
people when they hear
please,
motion capture, they think about there's been a lot of bad motion capture. Like
yeah, and I
there's
thought
been a
that film
lot
was
of
terrible, and
exactly.
and part
I
of it
like the
too.
film. It's just the motion capture I thought
This
was just
the
bad.
story is really cute, right?
Mhm.
Super charming, and the animation itself isn't particularly bad, with the exception of all of the faces of the characters
Yeah,
and
it gives that uncanny
their
valley feeling.
eyes that just like, wow, where are these? Well, it's like, why couldn't this have just been animated? Kind of traditionally or normally, even with just using 3D animation. Anyway, I haven't been a fan of the Robert Zemeckis ones because he directed a
Mhm.
few. I know that
Christmas
again he was really
Carol, yeah.
exploring a Christmas Carol, Beowulf. Oh my gosh, that thing
I
was
forgot
just
about it. I forgot about it.
dreadful. In my in my opinion, but this one overall, I thought the motion capture worked. I still am a little critical about the eyes. I don't know. I just know
Okay,
just some of the, but
fair enough.
overall though it's a knockout. Really, it's really a knockout. And again, I think too, partly just because it just feels so free the way things can go. I know we can break some of this movie down kind of scene by scene or act by act a bit, but
Mhm.
I the action scenes in particular, because Steven Spielberg, that's a place where he typically really shines. I was thinking of any of the Indiana Jones films,
Yes.
original Jurassic Park,
Mhm.
and just a lot, just really any of them, like Minority Report, just goes on and on. Steven Spielberg
Yeah.
really knows how to do action, and
There's one action scene in particular we'll talk about when we get to it,
yes,
but
again, I can't.
it's probably the one we think
I
about
bet it's
just
not what we're
yeah.
thinking about. Yeah, I can't wait to together. But okay, so the motion capture did just based on what you said, did you have any issues with the motion capture? Again, you felt good about it, though. Just again, the way
I
it
felt good.
was
Like
used.
I think it fits this movie perfectly. So like this one, I didn't feel any uncanny valley. I didn't feel any. I don't even compare this with Christmas Carol or Polar Express or Beowulf or any of the Planet of the Apes or anything like this. This I think was just leaps and bounds above anything. But I think it's also because of the art of Tintin. So like again, I feel it matches it perfect.
Okay, good. Well, that was my next question too. Just because again, the art that Hergé, am I saying that? Am I saying that right, Mark?
I think you say Hergé, but I mean
Hergé. Sorry, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Hergé created for the books is very flat. But I mean, not saying I don't mean that critically. I mean
yeah.
it's just the style of it, right? It's just really heavy lines, solid colors, but there's beautiful. I mean, I love it. So I think it's super expressive. I love the characters' faces. How did you feel that the did the motion capture ones, as they were trying to make them, of course, three dimensional, make them look kind of a combination of actual people, but also really stylized? What were you happy with the character designs that they used in the film?
I think so. There was no character design that I thought was like super off.
Okay,
Yeah, no, everyone I think felt how I expected that character to look in computer animation. I mean, not computer animation, motion capture.
now is this a good time to just to talk a little bit about the cast then that they assembled
Yeah,
for the
let's go.
film? Uh, how did you feel about the casting? And tell me a little bit, yeah, just to
Oh,
get what you thought
casting was
about it.
almost perfect. I mean, Andy's when you do a motion capture film, Andy Serkis is the
Andy
king of motion
Serkis,
capture, so you have to get him in
he
here.
is the king. Yeah,
So
good call.
He plays Captain Haddock, and he is exactly how you expect Captain Haddock to be. The only thing that he did different is he gave Captain Haddock kind of a Scottish accent, which in the books he doesn't have. And in the I mentioned that there was a TV series in the '90s. He also didn't have that, but it kind of matches with. I feel it fits like his captain and seafaring kind of way. So the Scottish accent kind of works.
Uh, and then Tintin is played by the actor Jamie Bell.
Jamie Bell, who I think does an amazing job. Again, the only difference is because it's still very British leaning because they're still the English the English versions of Tintin. I think are still the most popular ones, so that's why everything is kind of more British than like the original like Belgian or French.
Okay, and then the bad guy in this film, we see it. Well, okay, we'll get into this plot, but it's Daniel Craig, right? Who voices the bad guy? Is this character? He's clearly in the books, right? This is based on a couple of the stories. What's
So yeah, so his
what's your take of the
character,
villain? Yeah.
okay, his character, Mr. Saccharin, does appear in the book. He appears in I can't remember if he appears in the Secret of the Unicorn or both the Secret of the Unicorn and Red Rackham's Treasure, but he appears in one or both of them. But he's actually a very minor character. They actually changed it and made to make him like the main villain in this, and they gave him this whole backstory. So they did change some stuff for the movie, but again, it makes sense in the way they've changed it.
Okay,
But yeah,
so
this is Daniel Craig. If you told me that was Daniel Craig, I could not have
I would have
guessed.
never guessed exactly. I just I had remembered that from back in 2011, and then I verified it
Mhm.
again. Looking at the cast list uh, for the film. The police are played, or the police characters is
Thompson.
Thompson and Thompson. They
Yes.
are kind of the comic relief, right? At least this is what I wonder too. And is that the way they are in the books?
Yeah.
And I love the casting that they picked for these
Oh yeah, the
characters.
casting is perfect. But yeah, they are bumbling detectives. Like they work for Interpol, but they're friends with Tintin and Haddock. But they're not the most best of cops. But one thing that's also funny about them, like you mentioned, like their mustaches are different. One is pointed at the end, and one isn't. And they're also one is spelled with a P, and one isn't. But
Right.
another thing that they do a lot of like spoonerisms, I guess is the word, or like they flip words around. So like uh I can't give an example now, but like in the movie, there's something about like that was childishly simple. It's like simply childish.
Yes.
There's a lot of that in the books too.
Yes. So they are voiced by Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. So a great kind of modern day comedic duo, right? Which
Yeah,
I
and
thought was
again to
clever casting.
sorry, and again just to like remind the people at home, like when we say their voice, like they're doing the voices, but again
Well,
because it's motion capture, they're also doing the
they're doing the
acting. Like they're
performance.
doing the
Yeah.
motion too. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And which again just brings a whole new level, right, to it, which is
Exactly.
it's really cool. It really, I think it really works in this film. I'm with you.
Very much so.
Any other cast members that you think we need to introduce before we dive into some of the story, or characters? I should maybe say it's
I think that's those are the main
and
ones.
performance
Bianca
capture.
Cass Bianca Castafiore is opera singer who appears in some of the books, and the shtick is she's amazing opera. She thinks she's an amazing opera singer, but Captain Haddock and Tintin really can't, especially Captain Haddock cannot stand
and
her
and
singing.
and poor Snowy too.
And poor Snowy too. Yes.
Snowy's
So
suffering having to hear her. Yeah.
that's the shtick with her. So she's in this movie as well. She's not in it a lot, but yeah, in some books
But
she appears more.
okay, she appears. She's more. And then again, we're missing Professor Calculus in this film,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Which
He
uh,
doesn't appear in terms of where the books are. He doesn't appear yet, so that's why
okay,
we didn't see him. But
okay.
he's like an amazing character. I would have loved to have seen him.
So let's dive into this story then, Mark. So the film, number one, the opening credits are super cool because
Yeah,
I remember that, yeah, also from 2011, because they're using. I think they're introducing, the story and the characters, but they're using the style of the books, right? And the at least, or even if they're just kind of in shadow or silhouette. Um,
correct. And
I thought they were really
anytime you
effective.
anytime you have an opening credit scene that's animated, like that's already a plus.
I
Like
know,
people don't put
right?
they don't put that much effort nowadays.
Oh, I agree. I thought that the opening credits were the coolest, and I like, yeah, just very stylistic and just a great way to introduce this story. What? So then we meet Tintin. Are they in Belgium? Are they in France? Where is this city? It doesn't really say. It's modern day, right? I mean, it's today basically, right? The way it's not like it's necessarily back in time, right? When we introduce them as present day kind of thing.
Present day.
Is that how you'd
It's
interpret
present.
it?
Yeah, it's present day when the books are out, so it's probably like the 30s or the
Right.
40s or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, but
Given
yeah,
like the
present
way that they
day.
designed the cars and
Mhm.
yeah,
Correct.
this kind of the
But
clothes and
but
everything.
yeah, it's not. I don't think it's really specified where they are, but because the original books are from Belgium, I my assumption is it's meant to be
It looked
some
like
version of as Belgium.
it looked to me like somewhere in Western Europe is what
Yeah,
the way it looked like. And honestly, it seemed more like it was Paris, but also I haven't spent a lot of time in Belgium. So,
okay, yeah.
but that's what it looked like. It was cool. And
It was European. I think that's
yeah,
kind of how it was meant
we'll
to.
just call it
We'll call it
European.
European.
European. I like it.
So, so in the beginning, when we open up, when we get to this part, Tintin is like exploring like a I don't know, like a flea market
A
kind of
flea
place.
market, yeah.
Yeah. And he's getting his picture drawn by an artist. So that artist is actually a caricature of Hergé.
Yes, and the art that he draws is what Tintin looks like in the books, right? Which I
Yeah,
love. I
exactly.
love that.
So because in the bringing back the '90s TV show they did, the animated series, they did a thing where they had a caricature of Hergé in almost every episode as like a cameo. So I
Oh,
think that was kind of what they were
cool.
paying back
Yeah,
to.
paying homage to that.
Yeah, like Hitchcock.
Yeah, exactly. And so in this flea market, then Tintin makes a very interesting discovery. Tell me,
just
tell us what you think about what he finds.
just by chance, he finds a ship that catches his eye, like a model ship, and he buys it for a very small price, from what I remember. But
Yeah, it
he
was
has like
not like some
horses and
astronomical amount. It was like a total steal.
exactly. And then two guys come up to him and try to buy it from him. One is a American, and one is a British guy who really wants to buy it. And he's like, "Name your price." And I like when the when the shop owner's like, "I misname your price by one bleeding minute."
Well, and to be honest with you, this is like the only, and it's not even slow, but this is like kind of the only kind of chill moment of the movie, because then from here on out, it is nonstop action.
Yes, yeah.
Uh,
This is a bit calm before the
yeah, the
storm.
calm before the storm, which is, it's like 5 minutes of calm, and then 2 hours and 55 minutes of of this nonstop action. Okay, so he gets the ship home, spoiler alert, right? We're going to be spoiling the plot, so
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
we'll
Very
be,
much. If you listen to this,
yeah,
why are you listening to this?
we're going to tell you everything. So anyway, yeah. So again, please give us your take on what happens when Tintin and Snowy get the ship back to his apartment.
He gets the ship back to his apartment, and then I
And it's
remember
in
Snowy is
glass too. We
it's
should
in
say too,
glass,
right? Yes.
and Snowy finds a stray cat, and Snowy is one of those dogs who likes to chase cats, so he chases him all around his apartment, and it breaks the mast on the ship. But unbeknownst to Tintin, a small scroll from the mast rolls out from underneath and it lands underneath his cupboard, not his cupboard, his dresser.
And
Uh,
Snowy sees this happening, and he tries to
yes.
reach it, but he can't get underneath. It's too narrow underneath this piece of furniture. He can't. He can't
So
reach it.
in the book, Snowy talks, but not he doesn't talk to Tintin, but he talks like how Snowy talks, like not Snowy, Snoopy talks,
Oh,
like he
okay.
says things so that we the audience can see what he's saying. But
Yeah.
um, especially in the earlier ones, I don't know how much in the later books, but in the earlier books, he says some things, but again, it's more just so we the audience will know what he's thinking or saying. But
Can we just talk a little bit about Snowy? I think Snowy is the coolest sidekick because even though some of his mischievous dog-like behavior gets things kind of messed up sometimes, right? Um, he's smart. He and Tintin just kind of can communicate. They kind of know what each other are thinking. He's like the perfect sidekick. And what I like that they did too is that Snowy was never necessarily like in danger. That kind of is a trope that bugs me.
when they put the dog in danger,
Yeah, or the child, or whatever
the
the
child,
case may be. Yeah, it seems like Snowy's the one who's kind of helping protect Tintin, or and he's fearless. He's just
yes.
and he's fearless. So I think he's a perfect. I thought he was a perfect sidekick, and I really loved how they animated him because that would be full animation. It was
Yeah, that
Snowy.
was full animation. Yeah, there's no dog in
Yeah,
that.
yeah, no dog doing motion capture. at least
He's
that
also
we're aware of.
Yeah, he's also the first of Tintin's sidekicks because he was there from the first book with Tintin and him. So he predates like Thompson and Thompson and Captain Haddock and Calculus and all of them. So
Okay,
he was there since the beginning,
so Snowy's been there from the start.
from the start.
All
Yes.
right. All right. So, all right then, Mark. Not that I'm wanting to put this all on you, but please, I just would just love hearing how you describe the plot for us. So, what happens next?
I forget what exactly happens next, but I remember somehow Tintin ends up at the guy's house who was trying to buy the ship
Yeah,
from him, and this guy is a rich Mister Saccharin who lives in Marlin's by call, which
and
is
this
like
is
a
the character voiced by Daniel Craig.
by Daniel Craig, and Marlin's by call. So like I was saying earlier, Saccharin's not really a major character; he's really a very minor character, but they made him a major character for this, so making him like live in Marlin's by call and whatnot is none of this is in the book, but yeah. So he goes to Marlin's by call and he sees. Oh no. So previous to this, his ship was stolen. Tintin's ship was stolen. Um, but so he goes to the Marlin Spike Hall and he sees the ship there in glass, owned by Mister Saccharin. So he assumes it's his and tries to take it. But uh, he soon realizes that it's not his ship because remember his ship broke, the mast broke, but this ship is like perfectly intact. And Mister Saccharin, uh, you know, tells him before he can take it. Uh, yeah, are you there?
Yeah. Uh,
Okay, sorry.
no, you're good. The uh, Mr. Saccharin, I think, is a really great villain, and of course, he has the advantage of being motion captured by Daniel Craig.
Mm.
Who's a fine actor too. But I that's so interesting to know that he was a minor character in books, but they elevated him to be a major character. If I can ask Mark, is there a a villain that is a constant character too in the books that does it, and does this villain show up at all in the film, or is, again, they just, for the intent, for the for the plot of the film, they opted to expand Mr. Saccharin's role. What's how does that work?
Yeah, so there's no like major one villain that throughout all the books, but there've been a couple of villains that have appeared throughout the history and appear in multiple books. One is a guy named Restapopoulos, who was like a millionaire movie producer, smuggler guy, and one is a German guy named Dr. Mueller. But yeah, none of them are in this. The only one who's in this is like not a main villain, but a sidekick villain is Alan, who is actually the first mate for Captain Haddock, treacherous first mate of Captain Haddock.
Oh
But he
yeah.
appears in a couple of the books.
Okay.
So
Fun. Okay.
he's probably the only one.
So what they're all looking for, right, is, it's that little cylinder that fell out when Snowy knocked Tintin's ship over.
Yeah.
It's got this little note in it, right? This
Yes.
help this that fuels the kind of the quest and the mystery, right, of the film. Tell us a little bit, Mark, about these notes that Mr. Saccharin is trying to acquire.
So these are like little riddles that have been put there by the original maker of these ships, which was a guy named Sir Francis Haddock, who was like I guess a pirate plus seafaring captain back in like it's assumed like I'm guessing the 1700s or something like that, and he was in charge of transporting a huge treasure belonging to the king, but the treasure got lost, and it's assumed that he knew where the treasure is, and so he left these riddles in these cylinders, two at the moment, because Saccharin has one, Tintin has one. Later we'll learn there are three of them actually, and you need all three to figure out where the location is. So that's the kind of the plot. Saccharin is trying to get his hands on these cylinders so he can find out where the treasure is, and there's a reason why. We'll probably get to that as well. Um, and Tintin's trying to figure. He's trying to piece all this together. Like, why does Saccharin want my ship if he has one already? Why does he want this cylinder? What Tintin asks a lot of questions in this movie.
Yes, he does. He does, because again, he's the reporter, right?
He's a reporter.
He's the reporter,
He's done more reporting in this movie than his entire
right?
books.
Well, and so one of the many things I loved about this film, then, is just, as it was already mentioned, is that it is just this nonstop action film that has these. So Tintin, they're like out to kill him now, right? Basically,
Yes.
and so through some other details we get to. I mean, and it's serious. I mean, these guys they've got guns and they use them, and
Yeah,
and
sorry, the American. I just want to say the American guy from the beginning of the movie. He actually tries to go to Tintin's apartment to warn him, but he's shot dead.
he gets shot. Yeah,
But
he gets
it's
killed. And
so
but he's
Tintin
got this
doesn't.
major clue that he was bringing to Tintin,
Correct.
right?
And
Yeah,
there's a line I like there where it's like after he's shot dead, Tintin tells his landlord, Mrs. I forget her name. Let's call her Hudson. Mrs. Hudson, a man's been shot at our doorstep, and he's like, not again.
does that happen? Does that happen in the books too? Is that something that people get shot at Tintin's door?
Not specifically, no, but I guess it's just of
It's a great line.
just different adventures that he. When we were in Tintin's apartment earlier, on the wall there were like many newspaper clippings and photos. All those are referenced in different books of the Tintin books. So like
I was
different
wondering if
adventures.
it's just like it was loaded with Easter eggs,
Yeah, a lot of Easter eggs there.
for fans of the books. Yeah, how fun. Okay. Well, the
So
clue basically. Oh, go ahead. I don't mean to interrupt. After you.
no, I was just gonna say that yeah, the clue that he leaves is he uses his bloody finger to spell out different letters in a newspaper that's nearby, and it spells out Caribou Jean, which is the name of a army named ship. So that gets Tintin to interested to figure out, what's so special about this ship.
So yeah, so Tintin and Snowy find the ship, right? And they get on the ship.
Well, I guess
Or no,
they weren't
you
get
first.
on.
I don't mean to jump. I don't mean to like skip some important
No, no.
plot points. After you.
I just want to say that they don't get on the ship on their own. Like Tintin is kidnapped and
That's
brought to
true. Okay, again, that's yeah, good point. Because and he's kidnapped basically by the guys that shot the American, right?
correct. But we
Yeah,
don't know that yet. But yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, they're posing as like delivery people, and I like when one of them is Alan, who was the treacherous first mate, who we'll learn later, and he's like delivery for Mister Tin. Then he looks at his paper, Tin. That was a line I liked.
Yeah,
So anyway, they knock him unconscious and they put him in a box. But Snowy sees this, so he chases after those. This is like one of the one of the good action scenes we see as Snowy's chasing the car down to follow Tintin to where they're taking him, and there's just a lot of action. This car zooming in and out, and Snowy's like going running up down and up and down like cows and I can see on this on a movie screen that would have looked amazing.
it was so again so fun to see this on the big screen. And but again, I had fun rewatching this. And again, and I'm a broken record, Mark, but just that camera work. I mean, I'm calling it the camera, but again, it's just how how it moves through these scenes is so exciting because yeah, that's the real thrill. Snowy's trying to follow them and not lose Tintin as is getting
Yes, that's
put
right.
on this is getting put on this ship that whole that this guy was trying to tell Tintin about anyway.
Very true.
Yeah, yeah. So Tintin gets put, and Snowy gets on the ship, and he gets put in basically like a prison. It's kind of like a prison cell, right?
Yeah, definitely. He's a prisoner. He's a
Yeah,
Sakharin's prisoner. This is where he realizes the truth of Sakharin and him being evil.
yes, yes. Because it's not. I mean, Sakharine is suspicious, but we don't really
Yeah,
know fully his evil intent, right?
correct.
Yeah, yeah. So then boy, we got all sorts of stuff going on going on.
Oh yes,
We meet Captain Paddock. I mean
Haddock.
Haddock. So sorry. Yeah, we meet Captain Haddock for the first time now because it's his ship, right? Or he's the captain of the ship.
He's the captain of this ship, but Sakharin has pretty much bought over all the men, including Alan, who was the treacherous first mate.
Yeah.
And Captain Haddock, one of his qualities is he likes to drink a lot. So they just pretty
Yeah.
much give him alcohol
Just
and,
keep me
and
alcohol.
to keep him, out of his senses. But so this is like from. I told you that this movie is based on two books, really. One of them is called The Crab with the Golden Claws, so that's where this comes from. This is the book where Tintin meets Captain Haddock for the first time.
Oh, okay.
So it's on the ship as well, but it's a different plot of the book. But anyway, so Tintin escapes from the prisoner cell. He meets Captain Haddock, and hearing the name Haddock, Tintin realizes he's descended from Francis Haddock, who was like the key of this whole story. So they become friends pretty quickly, but we learn Cat Haddock's a fun character. 'Cause, he drinks a lot, and another thing that Hergé had to do was sailors are known for having very uh, colorful vocabulary, shall we say. But
Yes.
because the books are written for children and family, he had to find a way to like do cursing, but without actually cursing. So something you might hear a lot is like he does a lot of like name calling and just saying random words like. You call people pickpockets, bashy bazooks, 10,000 thundering typhoons, billions of blue blistering
Yes.
barnacles. You see this throughout the books. So this
And
is like
they
his
kept true
character.
to that too, right?
Very true.
In the film script.
There's
Uh,
one time in the movie he's a saltwater politician.
well, and again, Andy Serkis kills it, right? I mean,
He does that.
he's really
He gives him a Scottish accent, but besides that, like everything goes
what?
perfect.
Yeah, what? Now you talked about the Scottish accent again. What did you think of it? Did it kind of was it a little jarring to you, or you again, or just you just because again, that's not how it's written in the books, right? You don't.
The first time I heard it, it was like little like it was like, this is interesting because it wasn't what I was expecting. But like it, I think it works. I think it works with the character that of like the seafaring captain that he's trying to be.
So Mark, tell us about then really what's going on between Captain Haddock and uh, Mr. Saccharin. Their family histories are intertwined.
Yeah, so as the film goes on, s- Captain Haddock remembers little by little what his grandfather told him about the story. But so we learned this throughout the film. But basically, Sir Francis Haddock, when he was transporting this treasure, he was attacked by another pirate named Red Rackham, and Red Rackham pretty much took over the ship and killed all of Haddock's men. And basically, they fought each other, but Haddock won and was able to escape while the ship sank, and with Red Rackham in it. And Red Rackham, before he died, he made like a big curse to curse Haddock and all his descendants, and that they'll meet again in another life, etc., etc. So, long story short, Saccharin is the descendant of Red Rackham. So him trying to take over, Captain Haddock's life and Captain Haddock's ship and Captain Haddock's men and finding this treasure. It's not just about the treasure. It's there's a family history in here. He
Yeah,
just
there's
wants
like
to
this revenge plot.
there's this like revenge feud thing going on as well. That a Rackham is finally getting the better of a Haddock again. And again, none of this is in the book because Saccharin, he's not a descendant of Rackham in the book, but
Okay.
they just make this for the movie.
One of the things that I really enjoyed about this, how this, the story rolls out, is these. We learn about this, their past, their family, histories, their,
Yes,
intertwined family histories. Um, I mean, we like see it, and they like take us back there, right? And it's almost as if though Andy Serkis and Daniel Craig are playing those characters, right?
I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think they are too. They're doing the motion capture there, but then it becomes this awesome pirate movie, for a while. There's those I thought those pirate scenes were really exciting. What did you think about those pirate sequences in the film?
yeah, that was good too because so that part is coming from the other book, The Secret of the Unicorn,
Oh,
which is
okay.
where Haddock learns about his ancestor and reads like a diary about that the ancestor wrote, and that's what leads them on the journey to find this treasure. So that's how it works in the book. But yeah, so it played out as I would have expected it to. And one thing I love about this movie, and I think you'll agree, there's a lot of transitions where visual transitions that make perfect sense. Like there's one scene where they're in the desert and all of a sudden it changes into water and then we see a flashback of the pirate scenes. Or there's a scene where they're shaking hands and all of a sudden the hands turn into a desert mound as they're riding on a camel. It's like perfect.
I think great. I agree. It's just, again, it's just kind of classic Steven Spielberg, filmmaking
Exactly.
that's in this motion capture film. It was, kind of thrilling in a way, and I like to think too, Mark, that Steven Spielberg just had to have had a blast making this, because again, I just feel like he was using these tools, these really interesting tools to make a film that were very, where he could put his signature on it, but uh, I think I feel like they almost liberated him in a way, just
Yes.
just as you said, like all these different settings
Mhm.
and these different stories. So again, I don't know if we need to go into all the detail, but they get off the ship.
Yeah, they managed to escape
They managed to
finally.
escape
And they Saccharin sends a plane with pilots after to go hunt
to
them
go
down and shoot
to
them,
go kill
or
him.
at least kill Tintin. He doesn't want to kill Haddock because he wants Haddock alive. But they managed to take over the pilots, and I like when Tintin's flying the plane and Captain Haddock is like, "Have you ever flown a plane before?" He's like, "I interviewed a pilot once."
Again, and that scene is so fun and so exciting too. That as they're trying to fly this plane, and of course there's problems, and but it's
And
great. And go
sorry, I
ahead.
just want to
No,
say
no,
there's
that's
an
for you,
Easter
please.
There's an Easter egg in that where when they're up in the plane and they're going through turbulence, um, they're because of like the air pressure up there. There's a scene where Haddock's trying to drink alcohol, but it appears as a bubble floating in the air. So
Yes.
this is a reference to there's two books called Destination Moon and Explorers on the Moon, which are basically about Tintin and Haddock and calculus actually building like going to the moon. Like calculus gets hired by a foreign country to work on their space program, and he builds a rocket, and they actually go to the moon. So this actually takes place before 1961, before anyone ever been to the moon, actually.
Oh,
So
cool. Okay.
it's very interesting to read about. But yeah, so when they're in space, like there's scenes where with like bubbles with or stuff like floating in the air. So that's what that's a Easter egg.
Another homage, right? Another cool Easter egg for the fans. That's so great. The this airplane sequence though, I thought was particular was exciting. Because there's all sorts of stuff going on. Again, it
All sorts
felt
of
very
stuff.
Indiana. That I mean, the whole movie did, but this one really felt very Indiana Jones like.
Mm.
Um, how would you interpret or explain this airplane scene work?
It's just chaotic, and not just chaotic, but like you said, everything is going wrong, and they're just trying to fly, they're just trying to land, but they're flying through storm clouds. Then they're about to crash into the desert, and they have to worry about the other two guys that they just not kidnapped, but like they have tied in the back. So there's just a lot going on,
There's a lot going on.
and they finally crash into the desert, the
They crash
Sahara
in the
Desert.
desert. Yeah, they're in the Sahara, right? And
Yes,
again,
they're trying to get to a place called Bagar, which is where they know Sakarin's going.
um, and again, just another fun thing about it is that yeah, they're traveling all over the world. They're not just. I mean, it'd be enough just to be in Europe, which is so
Yes.
wonderful. But yeah, they're yeah, they're going all over the place.
There's many books that take place in like the Arab world and like
Oh,
Middle
okay.
East and stuff. So you see that a lot in a few of the books.
So they survive. The plane crashes, but they survive.
They
Everybody
survive.
survives. Those other guys, the other dudes, are able to escape. Right? They've got parachutes. Uh, Although you wonder how they fare, right, in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
But yeah, the so then what happens when they get to this when they find the city? Mark, tell us what.
Well, before they find the city, they're lost in the desert and they're taken in by like I guess they're I don't know if they're foreign legion soldiers, but
Yeah, that's a good point.
they're
Well,
European.
this is an important part of the plot, at least for Captain Haddock, right?
Yeah,
It's where
this
he
is
sobers
Europe.
up.
Exactly, this European soldiers in in an outpost in one of the northern African countries, and Captain Haddock gets sober. He's never been sober in his life, so he has no memory of Tintin. He has no idea of anything about flying in a plane.
Yeah,
No idea. So
he
it's
goes
funny.
through quite a lot as he's detoxing.
Snowy has to actually give him alcohol before he can remember everything again. This is when he remembers everything about the who Saccharin is supposed to be and the descendant of Red Rackham and all that. But again, the visuals in that are so cool. Like they're like just the flashbacks between present day and then is like seamless.
The flashbacks are really impressive. Yeah, does Haddock sober up in the books too, or is that something they added
I
for the
mean,
to the movie?
he's always drinking, and but I mean, like I don't think he ever sobers up to a point where like he doesn't remember who Tintin is or anyone. He
Yeah,
never gets like that. But in one of the books, he calculus has this. He invents this like pill to like make alcohol. Um, what's the word? Like not like unable to bear drinking alcohol. So he tries it on Haddock. So Haddock throughout the book is like, why can't I enjoy any alcohol? Every time he tries to drink something, he's finds disgusting. So that's a that's the last book that was written that was released before Ershay died.
okay.
Hmm.
Uh, what then happens next after Haddock sobers up and they
So
keep on moving?
they finally get to Bagar, and the reason they why Saccharin is there is because one of the sheikhs there he owns the third ship, so he's trying to steal it to get the third cylinder from that ship. But this one is in a protective glass, a bulletproof, shatterproof, well, bulletproof, I guess, case. So the only thing that could break it is a very high frequency. So this is where Bianca Castafiore comes in, or known as the Milanese Nightingale, the opera singer. The opera singer who she loves herself, but boy, how I can't stand her.
Oh well, it's the kind of the joking kind of opera singer that like hits those high notes and then glass breaks, right? Like everything's
Exactly.
breaking, yeah,
That's
including
exactly
their
what happened.
eardrums. Yeah,
So it breaks, and then Saccharin is able to steal the third scroll via his falcon, and Haddock and Tintin try to stop them. So then there's this. They're trying to get the scrolls from each other.
okay,
So this
so
is what I was referring to in the
this
beginning.
scene,
This
Mark.
scene.
Oh my
This
goodness,
for anyone
I
who doesn't.
remember this
Sorry, go ahead.
from I remember this well from 2011. It was the scene that I think left the biggest impact on me. I almost couldn't believe it. It was so well crafted and so cool, so cool.
For anyone who doesn't know, this is a pretty much a chase scene between Tintin and Haddock and Saccharin and his gang, and they're trying to get the three scrolls from each other. But it is entirely chaotic. But not. First of all, it's maybe what I would say 3 straight minutes, maybe 3 4 straight minutes straight. But it is done in one
I
camera
was going to
take.
say it's quote unquote one shot, and
Just one shot.
it's so
There is
impressive.
There is no cuts to this camera, and you are watching the camera go, following these guys as they're driving on motorcycles, crashing into buildings, making a whole building fall down,
A big
driving a tank
a
through
big
another
a
hotel,
dam breaks. I mean, there's all
dam
sorts of
breaks,
stuff going on.
jumping on a balloon in the market. And again, this is motion capture, so even though most of it's animated, they're still doing all this action. They're still doing all this live for this long camera take, which this is probably one of the best, if not the best, action scene put to film I've ever seen.
It's fantastic. It is absolutely worth watching the film, even though the whole film was really fun. But this scene is just absolutely dazzling, and
This is the piece de
yeah,
resistance.
it is for sure. Uh, and I'm so glad that we both that's the scene that we both of course know we're all stoked about. The
I think everyone does love this scene.
Yeah, it's such a. In fact, I almost just wanted to like rewind and watch it again, just because
I've done
it's
that
so
before. I've done that
yeah.
before.
Probably still could too. It's just so well done and so much fun. So anyway, what happens with those three papers then, Mark? Tell us what happens with the papers.
I think in the end, Sakharine gets it and he goes off. But Tintin is kind of down and depressed. Like doesn't really want to continue it. Haddock gives him a good like uh, what do you call it, pep talk to get his spirits going again. And then basically they find out Sakharine's going back home, so they head back home. And here, this is where Haddock and Sakharine have their final like uh, meeting face to face with cranes of all things.
This crane battle. So that's how that's how they're duking it out. As each of them has a big crane. There's some kind of warehouse district or something, right? Or
Like or like a docks or
a
something. I
dock.
don't know.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like some kind of a port. And I actually thought that was really fun.
That was fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
like he
not
like when the
nearly as thrilling as that, you know.
oh no
But
nowhere near.
it wasn't intended to be. I didn't think
No,
either. It was more just how Haddock is able to defeat uh, Sakharine, and then Thompson are there to arrest him.
correct. And so the movie doesn't end here. So now
Oh,
we
but and
there's
again,
more.
and I love this ending too because it's so satisfying. The way
Mhm.
because again, now that they've got all three of the papers, they can figure out they
Where it is,
they
yeah,
want to figure out where what where this is, where the treasure is.
exactly. So they follow the coordinates, and it takes them back to Marlin Spike Hall, which is now, Sacramento isn't known anymore. But and Hatter can't afford it, even though it's his family home. But anyway, he find basically there's like a hidden cellar that's been walled up, so they break it down, and that's where they find like all these leftover artifacts and stuff, and then they find a globe that has a there's an island on the globe that's not real. But Haddock points out, he's like, "Oh, they made a mistake on this globe. That island doesn't exist. I've been there, hundreds of times. It's that's not that's a mistake." And then Tim's like, "What if that's not a mistake? What if that's something only a Haddock can actually identify?" So it turns out to be a button, and when they click the button, the globe opens up, and that's where the quote unquote treasure
The
is.
treasure is
So
hidden.
they
Yeah.
they find the treasure, and they're so happy about it and all that. And um, Haddock makes a comment about with all the big fuss, you think there'd been more of it besides just like a small globe worth. But oh well, all's well that ends well, which is another reference to one of the books that ends with "all's well that ends well." I
Nice.
think it,
Okay.
I think it's Red Rackham's treasure that ends that way. I could be wrong. But anyway,
Excellent.
at the bottom of the globe is another piece of paper which tells of the location of the shipwreck, and that's where the rest of the treasure is. And this is where the movie ends, and this is where I know a lot of people. I know people who don't like this movie because of that. Like it ends on this cliffhanger. I personally didn't mind because, again, I'm familiar with the books. I know that The Secret of the Unicorn ends like this. The Secret of the Unicorn is a two-parter. It's Secret of the Unicorn, then there's Red Rackham's Treasure. And in Red Rackham's Treasure, that's when you actually find the treasure. So I was already going into this movie knowing that,
You knew, yeah.
they're not going to find the treasure. So I could understand their disappointment of how it ends. But I'm just disappointed because this was supposed to be a trilogy. That Steven Spielberg was supposed to direct the first movie, Peter Jackson was supposed to direct the second movie, and then both of them were going to come together and direct the third movie. So I'm still waiting for a
Oh my
sequel.
goodness, interesting.
14 years later.
And one thing we didn't mention too, Mark, is that Peter Jackson's special effects company is it Weta? I'm not sure how the right way to
Okay,
pronounce
okay.
that, but they did the animation. They did the
Okay,
motion
okay.
capture for it, and so that all that makes sense.
That makes sense now.
Yeah, that Peter Jackson would be involved. And wow, that would have been a cool collaboration. I mean, I guess we still hope springs eternal, right? Who knows if
Yeah.
they'll do it, but you
I
never
think
know.
up to last year, I think Jamie Bell was interviewed, and he said that they are kind of still looking at making a sequel. So maybe it isn't uh,
It's not completely
uh
dead.
you're not completely dead, but it has been 14 years. Well, I don't
Well, and
know.
thanks for helping explain that to me, Mark. Because again, from my experience, I who know nothing about these, about this
Correct.
other
Yeah.
than what I've seen in the film, that I thought it was a fun way to end it because knowing that these two
I was going to ask you
characters,
that. What did you? How do you
I
think about
liked
it?
it because I just thought these two characters, they're all about having adventures together, and it just seemed to me like that's rather than having them go their separate ways or whatever, kind of tie it up in a bow. It's like, no, we're off to the next thing, and I thought that was fun. It worked for me, a layman. It worked. So
Okay,
I'm
awesome. I'm
sorry.
glad
I'm
to hear that.
sorry if the fans were upset, but I mean, I wish I can
Well,
understand why.
well,
But
I don't think the fans were upset because I think the fans would be like me, so they knew it ended this way. For me, it's like I have other friends who aren't familiar with Tintin, so I think they just wanted more. They wanted it to actually end with like finding all the treasure.
yeah, no, I liked it because again, in a way, it sets it up for a sequel, but also in a way, it feels like it's true to the characters. Like they just they've only just begun to have their adventures together.
Like
So
Back to the Future, kind of.
yeah, exactly. That's a really great way to put it. So Mark, you then, as you expressed, were very happy with this adaptation. Would there be anything that if you were the screenwriter, or if you were in charge, was there anything that you would want them to perhaps do differently, or things that you had hoped would be in this film and weren't there? Uh, yeah,
I think. excuse me. I think overall I like this film as much as it was. If I would do anything different, I think maybe some of the dialogue can get a little maybe confusing or redundant with like especially like finding the clues and stuff like that. But that's more of a like a nitpick than actual a big issue. I think my big problem is I wanted a sequel, and I'm sorry I got this.
Yeah, okay, fair.
So that was it. But no, but overall, this was everything I hoped for. Like I've seen this movie many times since, and I plan to continue seeing it many times in the future. And I'm just glad it was made. And it it wasn't the flop at the box office, but it wasn't like
It
oh my
didn't,
gosh, like
as I
the
recall, it didn't
reviews.
set it on fire, but I thought
Correct.
it was respectable, right? It did okay.
Yeah, I think it was maybe 300 million, if I'm not mistaken,
Okay,
which is nothing bad, but it's not
yeah,
like $1 billion at the box office.
right. And I wondered, yeah, I always wondered
I
too if
think a
that's.
big I think a big issue. Sorry, I think a big issue of it. I think is again. I think American audiences are not familiar with Tintin, so I think that played a big part. I think worldwide, this did better than like it did in like America.
I would think that it would do better in international markets than it did in America too, because
Yes.
again, I don't think possibly I had some exposure to those books when I was younger, because I grew up here, of course, in America. But
Mhm.
it wasn't until I traveled to Europe is when I started seeing it, and then I've got some
Mhm.
friends like one of my friends grew up in France, and Tintin was it's kind of almost like what you had expressed, Mark. Just favorite books from his childhood,
Yeah.
uh, and and that's really that's really a fun thing. What then, Mark, would be kind of your final remarks to get people to see this film? What would you say to people to get them interested in investing their time to watch this film, particularly if again, like me, not I went because I love animation. That was really, and then and Steven Spielberg. Those were the two big draws for me. But well, yeah, what would you say to uh, to someone to get them to watch this?
Yeah, I would say you don't need to know anything about Tintin to watch or enjoy this. But again, like you said, I would say Steven Spielberg directed it, so that's already a plus. And two, the you'll love the adventure and also just all the camera shots. First of all, the amazing scene we talked about, plus
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
other action shots. Like give it a shot. You're gonna like it if you like Indiana Jones kind of thing, especially more kid friendly type of thing. Like give this a shot. You will enjoy it.
Well said, my friend. Now, one other quick side note: since you're so familiar also with the source material, Mark, do you have any of the books that are your favorites that you would recommend to people? Like if someone
Oh, to read.
wanted to read read some of the Tintin books, any favorites or any ones you think would be good to start with, or what would you recommend as far as just the reading portion goes? Again, just
Oh
this is a
yes.
side note here,
I'm just pulling
and
up a
kind of
list of
surprising
all.
you with that question, but
No worries. I'm just pulling up a list of all the books so I don't forget any. So I just have where's the list of titles? Okay. Yeah. So some of the earlier ones are I wouldn't recommend just because they don't have like Captain Haddock and the other characters in it. So a lot of people may not be ready to start with those. So I would recommend something that we have these characters in already. The Secret of the Unicorn and the Red Rackham's Treasure. Those are, I think, like if you start with those two, because if people are already familiar with, you know, somewhat of the story from this film, I think picking up those two books will be good, and you'll also get introduced to to Professor Calculus. There's also my favorite one is one called Flight 714 to Sydney, which is really it's one of the later ones, but it's really interesting and it's kind of adventure-y, and there's like a plane gets hijacked by a by one of the villains I mentioned before, and then they go to this like island, and that was fun. Then there's also the moon ones I mentioned before, Destination Moon, Explorers on the Moon. I think those
yeah,
are
that
also
one
good.
sounds really fun too. That they
Yeah.
that they go to the
And right,
moon.
and again, it's from the '50s, so this was like before anyone had even been to the moon. So
Yeah.
it
Well,
was kind of praised for being pretty accurate to how you would actually get to the moon. So
and I'd be interested to read, see how Professor Calculus plays in, that since I don't know anything about his character. And uh, are Thompson and Thompson in all the books basically, or are they?
they predate Captain Haddock and Calculus, so
Oh,
they're more
okay. All right, as you
elementary,
mentioned. Okay,
but they're not at all. But they're earlier though, at least.
but at least snowy, right? It's Tintin and snowy,
Snowy,
right? Or
Snowy's been there since the beginning.
everything
Yeah,
loves snowy. Well, Mark, this has been so much fun. Thank you again for the recommendation of watching this film, and it's so great to learn about this film that you love, and you can tell us why. So, thank you.
you're welcome. I guess the only thing we didn't mention is there's also there's like a side plot with like a pickpocket that
Oh yeah, the
Tintin keeps on.
pickpocket, which
Yeah,
because Tintin, the note that he finally discovers, that Snowy helps him find, that fell out
yeah,
of the broken ship in his apartment. He puts the note in his wallet.
yeah. And then
Uh,
well, it gets
the wallet gets
pickpocketed.
pickpocketed by this notorious pickpocket in the city. That
Who's not a pickpocketer? He's a
Well, he's
kleptomaniac,
a
actually.
kleptomaniac. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. Thank you for the clarification. Yeah, he's absolutely, and his apartment's hilarious because he's got them all. It's like he's got a library of all these wallets he's stolen, hundreds and hundreds that he's stolen over the time. Thompson and Thompson find him, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and
And of course, they
anyway,
don't put two and two together until the end. They're like, no wonder this guy has puts all his wallets in his living room.
well, and again because they're the bumbling cops too, right?
Exactly.
Is
And the same thing. He's also a minor character in the book. He's not anything big either. So
But is he recurring at all, or
no,
is
he's
this
just in
the
that one. Just in that one book.
it's
You
just
know,
to that one the one.
same with Saccharin. Yeah,
I'm glad you bring up the pickpocket because that was a fun
yeah. I
little
think that's the only
plot
thing we
element.
didn't really mention. But yeah,
Yeah. Anything else that you think we need to mention that we haven't talked about with it with the
no, just if you know Peter Jackson personally, bother him for me and tell him to make this movie, the sequel.
That's right. Make a sequel. Forget all this Lord of the Rings stuff, right? Let's
Exactly.
make some Tintin.
We have what six,
Uh,
10 films of this already.
we have enough, more than enough. His Hobbit stuff just killed me. You know, 9 hours of the Hobbit. Oh, he should have been making Tintin.
He could have. I never read The Hobbit, but from what I understand, it's a short book, so
It's
to
a short book,
make it three
and
movies
he
is
made it 3 3 hour movies, which too much. I think I stopped after number two. I don't think I saw the third one. I couldn't take it. I remember leaving. I'm sorry, rabbit hole, but then we'll wrap it up. The very the very first Hobbit, because I like the book. I think it's a fun book, and I love the Lord of the Rings films. But that Hobbit movie, I was bored out of my mind. Literally, at one point, and I rarely do this. I got up and I walked out partway through and got some popcorn, looked at some movie posters in the in the theater lobby, and then went back in. And of course, nothing had happened.
I
I
love
didn't
to know
miss
how many movies you've done that for.
very few. That's probably the only one that I really did that. And I was just like, oh, such a bore. It's like 3 hours of this. Anyway, I digress. I wish that he was making Tintin. Let's just say that again. Peter Jackson,
If you're
make
listening to
this
this,
movie.
sir,
Yeah,
please make it.
yeah, absolutely. Well, Mark, where can people find you online?
Yeah. Thanks for having me. As always,
Thank
this is fun as
you.
always. You could check out my blogs, The Animation Accommodation at theanimationaccommodation.com. And I also have a live action Disney blog called myliveactiondisneyproject.com.
Mark's got the coolest ranking system. I would say this: you got to check out his blogs because, and I'll have links to them in the podcast notes on my, on my blog. But uh, it's an ambitious project, Mark, and it's very fun. Uh, what is the latest movie? I know that I think you had put a teaser out that about the latest movie that you're reviewing for your Disney blog. What is it? If
Yeah,
you
the
could
next one
share,
is
I don't want to spoil it. Speaking of spoilers, I don't want to spoil this.
Oh, no worries. It's because of work. I haven't been able to keep to a consistent schedule as I used to. So it doesn't really matter if I spoil it because I'm not sure when when the review will come up. But I'm actually doing one that's questionably Disney or not because, from what I understand, Disney just released it and they didn't produce it, but it's also considered a Disney film that they produce. So I'm just confused. But I'm doing it anyway. It's called Return from Snowy River. It's an
Oh
Australian film.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that is a good point because I mean I've seen that film and I think it's quite a good film actually. But then I also really like the Man from Snow River, the first film, right? In that
See, I'm unfamiliar with the first movie, so
because it's not a Disney, as I recall, and
yeah,
then
the first movie is
yeah,
good.
and yeah, I'm with you because I don't remember. I remember that it was branded as Disney, but did they really make it or did they just buy?
Yeah,
Good choice though. I mean,
that's a big question mark.
it's technically a Disney film, right? And that as far as they distributed it and uh, yeah, and who knows if they were involved with the production, but it's like they bought it, I guess, right? So
Yeah, they definitely released it at least.
yeah. Well, I'll be anxious to hear what your thoughts are on that. And again, with your awesome
Me too.
matrix
Whenever I
that you
get to
use.
it.
Uh, and also, I mean, Mark, do we want to also talk about your game show? I don't want to,
Sure. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. On my animation blog, I run a game show called "Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Animation Edition," where I play with 10 people, people of my friends of mine or fellow bloggers or YouTubers who are animation fans, and it's just a trivia game about anything animation related. I'm currently doing season 11. I haven't posted the first episode yet, but that should be up soon. And our host, Mr. Sanford Clark, is actually appearing this season as well. So check that out, and we'll see
it's always
if we hit
fun.
10 million or not.
Always fun to be on your show, Mark, and thank you for inviting me. And you do such a fun job with that. That's really it's really fun. So, yeah, you should guys
Thanks
check
so
it out,
much.
particularly if you like that millionaire show format. Mark does a great job.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you, Mark. Thanks again for being on the podcast, and thanks again for always introducing me to cool stuff.
Thank you, and I'm sure we have more on the horizon.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, that does it for this episode of the Movies Past and Present podcast. Huge thanks again to Mark Brown for joining me. Subscribe to the podcast or you listen to your podcasts. And follow me on Instagram. I'm at Stanford Clark. As always, I hope you'll enjoy some good movies this week, whether they be from the past or the present. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, be safe out there and dedicate yourself to the truth.